Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days and 5 minutes on this Saturday, the 1st of June, start of hurricane season, and the start of what hopefully turns out to be a really nice weekend in the East. We'll be talking about the weekend past when we get to the Sunday night Joe and Joe weather show, and of course, talk about the week ahead, the long range, and touch on the new hurricane season. So that's Sunday night on the Joe and Joe Weather Show at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a mostly quiet Saturday morning anyway across the United States. We've got a few pockets here and there with some issues of flood watches up, flash flood watches up for the Florida Panhandle and that small area of southern Alabama that includes Mobile. We have excessive heat watches up for the interior areas of Southern California and Southern Nevada, but other than that, it is quiet. And here's the satellite loop, which is showing beautiful sunny skies from Maine, actually even into New Brunswick, Canada, all the way down to Florida, to the west from the Florida Panhandle and Alabama northward up through the lower Great Lakes. We have this north-south oriented system, a shortwave trough that is moving eastward with some showers and some heavier thunderstorms and heavier rains down along the Gulf Coast. Also seeing some dying areas of showers and storms back in the plains. They may fire up again later today. And a little bit of action coming into the Pacific Northwest. But no doubt, when you look at the radar here, up and down the East Coast, it's definitely not an issue today, tonight, and I think even for a good chunk of Sunday. Now, these showers here and some thunderstorms from western Florida up northward into southern Indiana and then over into Illinois, continuing up into Wisconsin. This system is moving eastward, but it is forecast to weaken as it moves eastward. So that will be good news. Eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England has seen at least rain on one of the two weekend days for every weekend of the last 16. So we're hoping to break that streak this weekend. We'll watch this carefully, but I'm thinking that the shower activity will not only weaken, but even if it does move through, it'll probably be moving through during Sunday night, during the overnight period, where we might see some scattered showers around. And I'm not expecting much in the way of rainfall, but there will be some heavier rains that are going on, obviously, today from the Florida Panhandle on northward up into the lower lakes. The Storm Prediction Center for today, marginal risk in Alabama and Mississippi up into Tennessee and back to Texas, and then it fires up again to a slight risk in West Texas, eastern New Mexico, western Oklahoma, western Kansas, western Nebraska, eastern Colorado. So pretty much up and down the westernmost plain states. And as far as tornado risk is concerned, we've got some pockets of 2% tornado risk in the plains, as well as in parts of Alabama and in Mississippi. Now, as we move on to day two, which is Sunday into Monday, we have a rather large area of slight risk, and now the attention focuses up more in the northern plains, eastern North and South Dakota, much of Nebraska, western Minnesota, western Iowa, northernmost Kansas, and northeastern Oklahoma. And that comes with a couple of pockets of 2% tornado risk. And then on to day three, we have a marginal risk being indicated through southern Kansas, southern Missouri, northern and western Oklahoma, and northernmost Arkansas. We're trending towards severe weather diminishing somewhat. It's been so active during the month of May, so normally it begins to slow down in the month of June, and so far, although it's only just one day, it looks like that trend is starting to get established. Meanwhile, as far as rainfall is concerned this week, half to three quarters of an inch from New England to Virginia. Higher amounts, and a lot of this has to do with what's going on today in parts of Indiana and Illinois, down into Tennessee, where we've got an inch and a half plus, and up to 3 inches of rain or more possible in the Florida Panhandle. Also, back in the Missouri River Valley on up into Iowa and eastern Nebraska and eastern Kansas. By the way, we're at the time of year now where we have to start to think about the fact that we're dealing mostly with convection here. So when we're talking about thunderstorms and sort of a broad brush area of rainfall, oftentimes locally you could wind up with double those amounts. So just bear that in mind as we move through the next several months and through the summer and into the early fall. Some heavy rain on up into the Pacific Northwest. So just going forward here as we take a look at what's happening, we're going to just switch over to the GFS model. And you can see here, no problems today. High pressure in Virginia, the rain that's to the west of that in that north-south oriented line from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast. The scattered showers and storms that'll become more numerous in the western plains tonight. We should be fine here in the east overnight. And I think for much, if not all of the daytime Sunday, it should be okay. This is a Sunday evening, and measurable rainfall has, still not reached the coastal plain. And in fact, you can see how much weaker it is when you look at today. See the darker greens indicating heavier rain, and now we've got mostly light greens that just basically fall apart during Sunday night. Meanwhile, you see big storms up in the northern plains. That's a severe weather risk for tomorrow. Next week, high pressure sort of reforms up to the northeast. So we're going to have a bit of an onshore flow. I think overall it should be okay. There could be a leftover shower or two late Sunday night, early Monday morning, but I think the rest of the day should turn out to be dry. The onshore flow is not going to make for an overcast sky. I think we'll have some sunshine, and the further inland you are, the warmer you'll be. Cooler temperatures along the coast. And that dryish air is going to hold on into Wednesday, and then we see low pressure and a cold front crossing the Midwest and the Ohio and Tennessee Valley, and that might bring some showers and maybe a couple of thunderstorms to the East Coast later Wednesday night or during the day on Thursday. And then after that goes by, looks like a coolish pattern sets up for the end of next week and next weekend, and it does imply that there might be some showery rains to deal with next weekend. But you know what? That's next weekend, not this weekend. And as far as hurricane season is concerned, it does get underway today officially, and tropical storm formation, tropical cyclone activity. It's not expected by the National Hurricane Center over the next 7 days. And usually June, unless it's an odd year, starts off. The hurricane season starts off rather quietly. But if this is the La Nina year and based on the NOAA forecasts that are very aggressive for this hurricane season, I wouldn't be surprised if we see perhaps a tropical storm or maybe even more than one tropical storm forming later on this month. So don't forget, enjoy your weekend, A, and B, that you can finish it off in grand fashion by watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast Sunday night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.